Hello ladies and gentlemen, Willie here. Since the launch of the Burning Crusade, there's been a very predictable trend that PvP servers would be a large centre for drama for player bases, more specifically those on the faction minority. There's more competition for resources, there's a lot more group quests and named quest mobs out in the world during your leveling. Summoning stones create a centre of PvP activity. The introduction of flying massively eases getting about. There's something to do in each and every single zone for level cap players. There's even the honor grinding. Well, there was before the same faction battlegrounds, and there's just not all that much to do outside of raid logging in our current environment. You get the idea. And a lot of players at the outset of Classic, myself included, chose to roll on PvP servers this time around. They were hyped up as the real game, the true way to play it. And as we went through Classic, we weathered the storm of Hillsbrad Phase 2, the savage jungles of ST Vietnam, and the dispels of the Giga Griefers. And while some of those were enough to sufficiently tip servers, many still survived. But somehow being in Outland has ended up being even more cutthroat than that. Now, Blizzard have been keeping a close eye on faction balance and say themselves globally the faction imbalance is small. True, as though that may be for the overall, Blizzard are looking at the bar at the top here, the all selected realms, not at the little bars beneath it that give relevancy to that number and how the players are dividing themselves up. Each of these bars are a little slice of Classic known as servers, and being the majority or minority on one of these servers has pretty big rippling effects across it. Now specifically this goes for PvP servers because everywhere is PvP. Pretty simple, there are no restrictions on Classic, there are no downsides if you kill someone or PK them in open combat. It's just a real big free-for-all everywhere you can go. On PvE servers, whilst it's nice seeing somebody from the other faction, it's kind of a neither here nor there really, because we aren't affected by one another's actions so much. It feels like week in on week out, another PvP server loses the minority faction in TBC as they move away to become the majority on another server, roll to PvE or quit permanently. Now, PvE is definitely the most drastic course of action, well, apart from quitting, I suppose, as once you're there, you cannot transfer back to a PvP server as per the rules in how TBC works. I don't believe this restriction was removed until Wrath the Lich King, actually. And moving from the PvP minority to majority, whilst entirely understandable, is shifting the problem over to a different server. It's like musical chairs, except every time you sit down again, you give another $25 to Bobby and the boys. Removing ourselves from the us versus them mentality of Horde versus Alliance, which the nature of factions encourages, the PvP player base as a whole is set to lose from this and be at a detriment. Guilds or friends transferring or quitting, established names of the server fading overnight, PvP rivalries dying. If we want to have an us versus them, we should be looking to Blizzard as a player base, not over the fence at each other. I've experienced the wild influx of new players and faces back during my time on Gehenna's on EU up to the end of Phase 5. So many guilds transferring over, and when you first see it happening, you feel oddly resistant to it, like they're strangers coming to your server and trying to take it for themselves. So many names or guilds which just don't have any relevancy to you as they all cram into your server. It's so easy to spot out a new Scarab Lord, a rank 14 or a Thunder Fury as well. Looking over some data now, which by the way now includes PvP as well as PvE within it, we can see how fast populations fall off once several guilds decide enough is enough. This is how our current overall population is standing as per Ironforge.pro, and with a few servers which have experienced a large fall off, we can just actively see what's happening here. Over on Shazra, we can see the Alliance population has gradually faded week in, week out. This is far from the most extreme example. Noggin Fogger, just recently, you can see an absolute exodus of the Alliance within the space of a fortnight, dropping from 1100 down to 500 players, and now as per last reset they're barely 162, who at this point are just refugees who need to either accept that they're going to be playing the underdog or pay out some money themselves. Again, we have Herald, another US server. It's seen a big reduction in the Alliance players over time, and now we have some real big extreme examples. First of all, Gandling, which has pretty much transferred itself fully to a PvE server at this point in time. The Alliance population has quite literally evaporated since TBC has started, with not even a 3-digit number of people online anymore. The Alliance are 1% of the population. This is truly unbelievable how quick it's happened. Another US server where the Alliance has just completely fallen apart, Chrome Crush. Again, the exact same story as Gandling here. Alliance just within the space of a fortnight are gone. 0.6% of the population. You can barely even see any relevancy left on the blues. It's truly a sad thing to see it happen. The proof is right there to see on these servers which ones are just disappearing overnight, and it's very easy to understand why they are. And where are people choosing to pick up sticks and go to? Well, a server where they're the majority, of course. If we look at Benediction, which is now the highest population PvP server in the world, it has received an absolute wave of new Alliance players. Again, looking across the past fortnight, 5,000 to 6,600, all the way up to 7,700 now. And I bet as we go week in week, this is still going to climb. And the Alliance are starting to really gain a huge edge over the Horde. When you look only about a month ago, it was very close to being a perfect split. This is where guilds deciding cumulatively that they're going to move from their servers where they're failing over to another one is taking the problem they've had and just bringing it somewhere else. And judging from the lack of actions to prevent the likes of Scarum or Incendius happening, as we saw back in Classic during Phase 2, where each of those servers separate themselves perfectly out into 100% Horde or Alliance, which should still be the case as of now if we have a quick look. There's Scarum for you, and there's Incendius, still 100% today. Again, this is a rotating door of minority joins up, becomes majority, the majority on the new server starts to experience the issues that caused the minority on the old server to leave in the first place, and then they start banding together and considering, is there a better server option for them? It really is something that feeds into itself. Saying all this though, you could have a perfect 50-50% population split at the top. Absolutely not one player more either on the Horde or Alliance. And this scenario would still exist because people want to play on servers where there are more players to play with, because it's an MMO. There'll be more groups going for dungeons, more guilds looking for people for raids, more pugs, more people to level with and do leveling content, more arena partners to find, more people to offer crafting services, a better economy where it's much more difficult for one person to corner a single item. There is an entire plethora of reasons why you want to be with the majority. This is just a side effect of factions long term and how players treat them. So whilst I understand the big number at the top, the all selected realms definitely matters, how it's divided up into all the smaller little divisions beneath that does as well a lot. And it's been ignored and unaddressed for a very long time. Again, I don't hold it against any player. When I chose to move from PvP to PvE, I could have gone to any of these smaller population Alliance PvE servers, but I didn't, because why on earth would you choose to go to a smaller server? I went to Pywood Village, which to this day is still the most populous one on EU. And with the two options to register your dissatisfaction to being on a minority server whilst not receiving any kind of word or support from Blizzard are A, get $25 out the wallet, or B, to literally quit the game, those aren't two very good choices whatsoever. It's a poor state of affairs that Blizzard has allowed to exist and fester, and it's only becoming worse. This will very much go on through the expansion and will definitely culminate on the Isle of Quel'The Nass. You thought getting to Blackrock Depths was bad in Phase 2 on your PvP server. I was there with you too when that happened. Wait to try and get a daily done on the Isle and get a feel for how TBC PvP in the open world will be on a minority faction without the added bonuses of having that flying mount for you. It's going to be totally manic PvP. Maybe some people are up for that and looking forwards to it, but at the same time, it's going to be hard to get things done. I'm still quite taken aback at just how fast this population divide has set in motion since TBC has come out, and this won't change unless Blizzard take active measures to prevent transfers or to mediate populations on minority servers in some way or another. They've tried the free transfers in the past, but equally that just completely breaks servers because there's no stopper on when a certain faction can stop leaving. And they have in the past also stopped people from transferring entirely, though that was for a short period of time and that hasn't happened again since. It sucks as a PvPer who wants to experience PvP in a relatively fair and balanced manner. I don't think we can ever expect world PvP to be absolutely perfect, but at the same time, if you can't play the game, that sucks. And unfortunately, this is how TBC is built, and without direct intervention, this is how it's going to go. Let me know if you're affected, you know anyone who's decided to make the switch, or it's something you have experienced yourself, and your general thoughts about it. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching and listening in. I'll see you all in the next one very soon.